Hello everyone. Hi, I'm Keith. This is my YouTube channel. It's called Recently Retired. And if you've been here before, then welcome back. If it's your first time here, then welcome. I hope you take something from it. We talk about things which are pertinent to those who are coming up to retirement, recently retired, or people who've been doing this wonderful thing for a long, long time. And this time, today, I'm going to talk about a very personal thing, which is how and why I lost over a third of my body weight so that I could enter retirement as fit as I could do and hopefully extend my retirement much further than the short space I would have expected had I not made the changes. So what about these changes? What about this weight loss? Well, I need to start when I was really a young man, mid-20s, very sporting. I could have eaten a house and not put an ounce on because I was working it all off somewhere, in a gym, on a squash court, running around, playing football, playing rugby, etc., etc. But then, as luck would have it, bad luck in this case, I had what looked like a rather innocuous injury playing rugby. I trapped a nerve in the base of my spine. Didn't really, it hurt, but you're not talking about hospital hurt or anything like that. But what it did do was it meant that because I had permanent sciatica in a sense, it was really out of the question that I couldn't run around anymore. My back was hurting all the time. It was hurting when I walked, when I sat. I was having difficulty standing up and sitting down and everything. And this became part of my life, basically. And time went on and I stopped doing these sports. Didn't really put it down as anything major. It was just, I thought, well, I'm growing up now. That's a young man's game. I won't be doing that any longer. And then my life changed. I moved towards my career, got married, had the first son, had my second son, started working in London, long hours. This was a commute in, sedentary job at a desk, commute out. Basically, then I would have dinner at home, go to bed. I was probably expending, heaven only knows, hardly any calories in a day, but I was still eating, a few thousand. So this went on for a few years, probably 10 or 15 years. And one day I looked down and instead of excuse me, my dog's just come in for a cuddle. And instead of the svelte young man that used to be there was this big barrel of a man who was wearing new trousers because I had nothing that fitted. And I thought, golly, I really have to do something about this, but it still wasn't enough motivation. I know I can expect some of you, excuse me, if the camera's shaking a little bit, we're not having an earthquake here in East Kent. It's actually just my dog walking through the room and getting into bed. But because the house is quite old, the room is made of floorboards and they move if a fly lands on them. Okay, so back to the video. So there I am in my newly enlarged Santa suit, thinking I really must do something about this. And the motivation came one day when I was doing something for work. I was actually doing something physical for the first time in ages. I was moving some furniture around. My sons, who were this time young teens, so maybe one was 13, one was 16, that sort of age, they were helping me, moving furniture around, spent a few hours doing that, and then bang, massive heart attack. It hurts. There's nothing funny about it. But very luckily, I was down by the city of Southampton, which is on the south coast of England, and they have got a magnificent heart hospital down there. Yay! I had a heart attack near Southampton. And they took fantastic care of me, and here I am. And that really stopped me short. They didn't really focus on my weight, but my GP did. When I got back, he was rather direct, as only a GP can be. He didn't say, lose some weight, fatty. Well, he probably did. That's what I heard, but he would have put it in a much better way. And I decided that I needed to go on a weight loss journey. He gave me a target weight, which I still haven't reached. Dear Lord, all these years. And I started to lose weight from there. And my starting point, because a video like this really needs some numbers for you to be able to put some pictures around it. I was 22.5 stone at the time that I had my heart attack, my first heart attack. I was 22.5 stone and started to move down from there. The thing was, I hadn't been doing anything physical, and now, as it happens, I hate physical activity. I wouldn't step into a gym if you paid me, frankly. So I wasn't doing anything. I had to start to lose weight really through reducing what I was eating, or how much, what of. And that was how it started. So it started all those years ago, with me thinking, I'm very lucky to be here. There was just some great circumstances that stopped me dying that day. I actually had 2 heart attacks on that day. I had one when we had just finished loading this furniture into the back of a truck. Ambulance came. We were on our way to Southampton. We were only 5 miles away from it. And as we were going down the motorway, bang, it happened again. But it was fantastic in the sense that the ambulance was connected to the hospital through that 2-way radio. We had a top heart surgeon at the other end, and he talked the paramedics through what to give me, what injection. So we stopped the ambulance on the motorway, pulled over to the side. Paramedic did the business, restarted everything, and I ended up at the hospital alive, which was a good start, and in the hands of these great cardiac specialists who set me back on my feet again. So in the intervening couple of years, excuse me? Yes, for sure. Yes, for sure. I wasn't that well. I mean, I was off work for a long time. I did have a 3rd heart attack, but that was my fault because I climbed a massive set of stairs. But I was losing weight. Things were going great. And I was losing, I don't know, maybe something in the region of just short of a stone a year. Let's call it 12 pounds, because then I can say it was £1 a month, which I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but it's a much better story. So I was losing about a stone a year. And then when I lost about 5 stones, so by that time I would have been 17.5. Yes, that would be about right. So I'd lost a quarter of my body weight simply through good weight management. Sweeties, I haven't had a sweetie for ages. I used to take sugar in my coffee, no more. Things like cereals. Not only do I not put sugar on cereals, I don't buy sugary cereals. And so you make all these changes. Carbohydrates are an enemy. So, and I'm a great carbohydrate eater actually. Baked potatoes, chips, these things were absolutely the dream. I could have a baked potato with a side of chips. Absolutely fantastic. But they had to go mostly. I still have chips now and again. I can't remember the last time I had them, but it won't have been that long ago. Oh no, I had them about a week ago. So I still have them as a treat, but not daily as I used to. So I'd worked my weight down simply by cutting out the things that a school child would tell you you shouldn't eat. Increasing my fibre a day because I don't like being hungry at all. So I would fill up on vegetables, which I still love vegetables now. And so I never went hungry, but I was eating more of the right thing and less of the wrong thing. And then, so there I am, I'd lost a quarter of my body weight. And I was telling everyone at the time, I've lost a quarter of my body weight, aren't I the clever boy? And then so that would take us to about 3 years ago. And then I woke up one day and was finding it difficult to swing my legs out of bed. And really, it's funny how these things happen. You don't think anything. And I thought, well, has a cat jumped up on the bed and it's lying on my legs and I just can't move them for a moment? And then slowly the realization comes, oh, good Lord, I can't move my legs. Well, I could move my right, but not my left. And then I thought, oh, in actual fact, I can't move my left arm either. Well, it started with my hand. I can't move my left arm either. So I tried to, of course, because I'm stupid. And I tried to get out of bed, but that resulted in me just falling on the floor, which is odd. My wife was already up and she was downstairs and heard the thump. She came upstairs thinking I'd fallen out of bed, which of course I had. And as she came in, I said, I think there's something wrong, which turned out to be a bit of an understatement, because I had a stroke and my left leg and my left arm weren't moving at this point. I'm happy to say that's my left hand, and I promise my left leg's moving as well. I'm happy to say that's all gone now. So there I am, in my pajamas, lying on the floor next to the bed. My wife wondering what to do, so she does the call to the ambulance, calls my sons, who were both there at the time of my heart attack, actually, so I think they're probably quite well traumatized by now. They live relatively locally, so they came round, picked me up, put me back onto the bed before the paramedics came round, and then it was another round of hospital, physio. Again, everything I do means I can't do any activities. You'd think I was planning this, wouldn't you? So that was another moment in my life where, okay, it was a very bad thing, and I'm not going to play that down. In fact, I'll probably talk about it in more detail in a future video. You know, how to survive a stroke, how I got through that, and I'm also diabetic as well, and that affects what you can eat. And I said to one of the doctors, you know, what's going on here? When I was a bigger guy, you know, when I was 22.5 stone and I got hit with a heart attack, okay, fair dues. I should have known that was my fault. Since then, I've lost a quarter of my body weight. And now this, you know, what on earth? And he simply said to me, think how bad it would have been if you hadn't lost the weight. And I thought, okay, rightio. Which said to me, just keep going and we'll see what happens next. So that was about 3 years ago. At that time, I was about 17.5 stones, I suppose. And I just kept doing what I was doing, except at first with a little bit less mobility. But my wife was a fantastic therapist with a small t. She's not a physiotherapist by trade, but she did little games like, and I'm going off track here from the weight loss, but it does help you to see how I remained focused on it. What she would do is bundle up a sock, or bundle up 20 pairs of socks, and then she would toss them towards me. As I sat in this chair, funnily enough, she would sit opposite, and she'd throw a sock and say, catch. And of course, trying to catch, first of all with one arm and then just with a little bit of movement, and wasn't great, wasn't fair, but she didn't charge me £1 every time I dropped them, thank God. And then she'd start throwing them harder and throwing them at my head and saying, catch. And every time I missed, she laughed. So we started doing that. Little by little, I got more and more movement and everything came back, and I'm pretty much 100% now. But all the time, I was continuing to try to lose weight. I was aware that I wasn't moving, obviously, very much at all. Walking was very, very difficult at the time. I was sort of dragging my left leg until I got to the point where I was walking properly with that. And so I kept going. So I'd had a couple of major health scares. I had the diabetes in the background. That was regulating, of course, because you're monitoring your glucose levels. You have to look at your sugars. So that was keeping me honest, you might say, about things like sweeties or chocolate or potatoes or anything. So over time, I was improving as a post-stroke. I was getting stronger and fitter in that, but I was also still getting lighter. And then I entered my 60s, and as I've said in previous videos, my thoughts turned, at that time, probably on my 60th birthday, turned to the fact that I was going to retire in 6 years' time, because here in the UK, because of when I was born, my state pension didn't kick in until I was 66. So I knew exactly the date that I was going to retire. I had no intention of working any longer than that. I'd done my bit, I always felt. So I had a winning post, a goal post. I had something to work towards. So I just kept on with that, kept on dropping weight little by little. And it's not a straight line graph from 22.5 up here at the top of the x-axis, dropping down at 15 degrees until I reach my target weight. Oh no, there's the whole up and down thing. So if I start up here, it doesn't just go like that. It comes down, and then you get to a birthday or a holiday or Christmas, and you have to keep returning to it and keep going. It is really about thinking, I get this down, or something else is going to happen. Now, I hope for none of you that you're motivated by such a drastic set of health conditions, but for me, it really worked. It put me into sort of the before heart attack, after heart attack, before stroke, after stroke, and there were these key moments. And I'm sure if I was better, there would be a how-to book in this, which would be on the remainder aisle in Waterstones for one of these sort of 3 for £1 things. But that was how it all went on, and I wanted to, my aim was to get down to the weight that I was when we were married. We were married in 1986. Yes, thank goodness I got that right. We were married in 1986. And at the time that we were married, I think I remember, I was 15 stone 2 pounds. And that really was the target weight for me. And that's what I wanted to be when I retired. Sadly, although I went down to about 15 stone 10, perhaps, Christmas 2024, I obviously massively overindulged. And I came out in January 25, about 16.7, something like that. I'd put on a huge amount of weight. So I spent 2025 really getting down to it. And I would like to say that by the time I retired, which was in August of this year being 2025, I was in fact 15 stone 2 pounds. And somewhere in the August, September, and I was thinking about this and thinking back to being 22.5 stone, and I thought, good Lord, those numbers work out so well. 22.5 to 15, 7.5 stone gone, 7.5 off 22 is exactly a third, or thereabouts. I'm very great at rounding up if it makes a better story. And I sort of had that information in my pocket for a while. You got nothing to do with such things. And then when I started the YouTube channel, which is one of the hobbies that I've started, as you know, I've started fossil preparation. And the second thing I did was to start this YouTube channel. And I watch a lot of YouTube videos now about starting a YouTube channel. And so one of the things they said was, if you've got something really sort of noteworthy in your life, why not do a how I, as they call it? Why not do a how I video So I decided just last week, I think, I would do a how I lost 1/3 of my body weight in preparation for retiring. And that's what we've just been through together. It's almost exactly 20 minutes, which is my length of video. And so with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. And if you stayed to the end, thank you. Please subscribe to the channel, give me a like, and if you can, leave a comment, because I reply to every comment that I get. And it's really terrific building up a community for the recently retired, the soon to be retired, or the people in retirement. It's wonderful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.